screen. I'm saying, okay, people unmute. So I'm saying when you look at your screen there, okay, when you look at your screens there, our first lesson is about missionaries in East Africa, as you can see. I have an image of a missionary who was actually preaching to some Africans, as you can see. Down there are the followers, and then that white man you see there was a missionary. Okay, now you can see we've got learning outcomes there, and this is what we need to achieve at the end of the topic. It might not necessarily be the end of the lesson, but the end of the topic you're going to look at. So we are saying that you should be able to understand the reasons why European Christian missionaries came to East Africa. You must be in a position to explain the activities of Christian missionaries in East Africa. You must be in a position to assess the results of Christian missionaries in East Africa. What did Africans benefit? Okay. In other words, what transpired after the preaching of the missionaries. Then, from there, you will need to have the following if you are to achieve the above objectives. You will need textbooks, pens, notebooks, internet, and atlas. Of course, this will be when our lesson is done, you will have to go make more research. That's why we are saying you also need the internet. Then these are the instructions. How we are saying use a handbook for Senior 1 history. Then make reference to other related books. Then, if possible, consult your guardian at home. Okay. Try and visit Google Internet. We've talked about that earlier. Okay. Now we've seen what we need if we are to learn and understand it very well. People were writing on the screen. That is not good. So now this is the introduction. We want to know who were these missionaries, when did they come, and a few things. Okay, I'm reading for you. There is this information here that after studying this lesson, you should be able to understand the influence of Christian religious in East Africa. Learning about, a moment, please. Okay, I'm now back. I'm saying that learning about these religions makes you appreciate the origin of today's Christian religions in East Africa. The current Christian religious disciplines we have in East Africa originated from Asia and Europe. These include Christianity, Orthodoxy, among others. Before they came, they were African traditional. There were African traditional religions that Africans respected a great deal. Now, when you look at that introduction, we are saying that most of the religions we have, the foreign religions, came from Asia and then Europe. But again, we are saying before these religions here in Africa, we also had our African traditional religions. But of course, with the coming of Christianity, all these ones were no more. Okay? Okay. Now people behave. Don't write on the screen. We agreed that you shouldn't do anything. Okay? Behave. Okay. So I've gone to the reasons why European Christian missionaries came to East Africa. But before I look at these reasons, I would like one or two learners to tell me one of the reasons or two why the missionaries came to East Africa. You can unmute if you have an answer, then tell me why.
Christianity.
To spread Christianity.
To preach the word of God.
Good. Actually,
They wanted
To teach Africans how to read and write.
spread Christianity. People how to read and write.
okay, that is good. That is good. Now, what do we do? We unmute now.
Churches.
Okay, we unmute now. Now, all the contributions, okay, whatever I've given is right. Whatever I've given is right. Yes, of course, we are saying they came to spread religion or Christianity. They came to stop slave trade. Oops. Now, there is this learn of ours who is actually spoiling our. Okay, please, whoever is writing on the screen, stop that. That is not good, okay? So we are saying that they came to East Africa for so many reasons, okay? Now, this is my first contribution here, okay? We are introducing, okay? And we are saying missionaries were humanitarian.
Yes, excuse me. You restart the presentation, but learners, I can assure you that I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm going to remove you from the class. Earlier in the morning, I removed a senior 2 students and will not come back again. If you cannot behave and follow what the teacher is doing, then I'm watching closely from behind. Remember, this video is being broadcast on YouTube. Very many people are actually watching the video. So if you are doing that, it means you are disrupting a lot of people outside there. Everything you can see on the screen is live. So learners, can you behave? Can you behave? So Teacher Busuulwa, can you restart your presentation so that it can go forward?
Okay, so we now start again.
No, you first stop sharing and then you share again. Stop sharing and then you share.
I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, we are going to restart because someone.
I'm not seeing the one.
Yes, wait, we are bringing the work, okay? Now, there is someone who has been misbehaving, writing on the screen. Our administrator has already told you that that is not right. This work is viewed by so many people, and once you do that, then it's very bad. You are distracting us. So whoever has been doing it, please stop. Don't do it again. Now you can see you are wasting our time. We are going back. We had already seen this, and we are now going back. Okay, so it is very unfortunate. Okay, now we are starting again. So we are saying that that image you see there, we have a white man who was actually preaching the word of God to Africans. You can see so many Africans listening to this man, right? So this is, I mean, some. Okay. Okay, there was an interruption. Yes, we are saying this is a European, a Christian missionary who was actually talking to Africans. So we are. So we are now going. So learning outcomes. We had gone through the learning outcomes, but now I'm just repeating these learning outcomes. We are saying by the end of this topic, you should be able to, then one, understand the reasons why European Christian missionaries came to East Africa. Then two, explain the activities of Christian missionaries in East Africa. Then three, assess the results of Christian missionaries in East Africa. From there, you need the following if you are to achieve the above objectives. You need textbooks, pens, notebooks, internet, and the atlas. Then you also need, okay, there is what our instructions. We are saying use a handbook for senior one history. Make a reference or make a reference to other related books. Then, if possible, consult your guardian at home. Try and visit Google or internet, and that is what we need if we are to achieve the above objectives. So the introduction now comes, okay? So we are introducing and we are saying after studying this lesson, you should be able to understand the influence of Christian religious groups in East Africa, okay, in East Africa. Learning about these religions makes you appreciate the origin of today's Christian religions in East Africa. The current Christian religious disciplines we have in East Africa originated from Asia and Europe. Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now mute. Okay, now mute. These include, we are saying, the different, of course, religions include Christianity, Orthodox, among others. And we are saying before they came, there were African traditional religions that Africans respected a great deal. So we are saying before the coming of Christian missionaries in East Africa, East Africans had their traditional religions that they respected so much. So now the person who is misbehaving is again doing it. I'm just going to request the administrator to remove this person from this class because you are wasting our time. So we are now going to look at reasons why the European Christian missionaries came to East Africa. Reasons now. But before there is some small introduction here. Missionaries were humanitarian groups that came to East Africa from Europe with the aim of preaching Christianity and civilizing the people of East Africa. Some of these groups included the German missionaries in Tanganyika, the Church Missionary Society, the London Missionary Society, the Roman Missionary Society, the Holy Ghost Fathers, the White Fathers, the Verona Fathers, and the Lutherans. Some of the leading missionaries included Kraft, Rebman, Dr. David Livingstone, George Greenfield, H.M. Stanley, Alexander Mackay, and Bishop Hannington, Brother Ammons, Father Laudel, and so many others. Okay, they had many reasons for coming to East Africa, and the key among them include the following. So, before we go to the reasons, in this introduction, we are saying that these Christian missionaries that came to East Africa came in groups, and we had different groups. We've mentioned them: the London Missionary Society, the Roman Missionary Society, the Holy Ghost Fathers, and so many others. And then we also had individual missionaries that came to East Africa. And among them, we had Kraft, we had Livingstone, then George Greenfield, there was H.M. Stanley, and so many others, Alexander Mackay. You understand? So these are the different groups and individuals that came to East Africa to preach the word of God. Now, here is the reason number one as to why these missionaries came to East Africa. It goes, they came to spread Christianity. Okay, so they came to get converts from East Africa. They considered East Africa to be a virgin land, and therefore they wanted to expand Christianity. The point is, these Europeans, the missionaries, thought that East Africa was a virgin land where people knew nothing about God. So they had to come to East Africa, preach the word of God to these Africans, and convert many to Christianity. But again, they also knew that Arabs had already come to East Africa. They were spreading Islam in East Africa. So they wanted to come and convert many that had gone to Islam, convert them to Christianity. So that is the reason one as to why these missionaries came to East Africa. Now, if the point is clear, one or two people should tell me it is clear. Is it okay? Yes? Okay, I'm assuming the point is clear. In the interest of time, let me switch over to another point. But the person misbehaving, the administrator is seeing you anytime is going to remove you from this class. So we have gone to point number 2. Number 2, to abolish slave trade and slavery. They came to abolish slave trade and slavery in East Africa. So the explanation is, with the achievements of the Industrial Revolution, slaves were no longer needed in America and Europe. Therefore, this humanitarian desire made the Europeans to come to East Africa. Yes, missionaries looked at slave trade and slavery as something that was inhuman. So they decided to come to East Africa and stop the buying and selling of slaves, because these people were no longer needed in America, they were no longer needed in Europe. They had actually changed from using human labor to machines. So the Industrial Revolution in Europe started in 1775. So they no longer needed slaves. They no longer needed slaves. Let me see. Okay, someone is actually saying here that was H.M. Stanley a missionary or an explorer? That is a very good question. Someone wants to know whether H.M.'s people I talked about, some of them at first came as explorers, then went back to their home countries, and again came back as missionaries. It was not only H.M. Stanley, Dr. David Livingstone was also at first an explorer. So went back to Europe and then he came back as a missionary. So H.M. Stanley did all of that. He was an explorer and a missionary at the same time. So we have now gone to point number 3. We have, okay, a moment. Okay, so we are seeing point number 3 here, which is to promote Western education and civilization. Wait a moment. Okay, so we have said to promote Western education and civilization. Now there is this stubborn student here. Please, Mr. Charles, if you can locate this stubborn student here. This student should be expelled from our class. So we are saying that they came to promote Western education. They came to introduce informal education in East Africa, and we are saying this was to replace the informal education. Okay, but with the introduction of Christianity, female education began in schools like Gayaza High School, King's College Budo, Namiyango, Rabbi High School, Mengo Senior School, among others. So we are saying these people came to promote Western education because in Africa at the time, Africans only had informal education. So they felt it important to come to East Africa and introduce formal education. Okay, formal education where Africans had to get skills in different activities. So we have moved on to another point here, and the point goes that in Uganda, the missionaries were invited by Kabaka Mutesa the first through H.M. Stanley's later. Okay. Activities of explorers made Kabaka Mutesa happy and excited that he decided to invite many more European Christian missionaries to come to East Africa. Now, when you look at that point, some of them came to East Africa. Of course, we have different reasons why they came to East Africa. But this point is specifically talks about inviting. They were invited by this African leader, Kabaka Mutesa. Okay? Okay, let me first see. Someone here is asking, teacher, please. Okay, I think may I get the difference between a missionary and an explorer? Okay, missionaries specifically came to introduce or to preach Christianity, but explorers came to know about Africa. The people that came to explore Africa, see what is in Africa, okay, know the people who lived in Africa at the time. Those people came to know, to discover, okay? They came to discover, to know about Africa and so many other things. Those are the explorers. But missionaries specifically came to preach the word, to preach the word of God. We shall, okay. Now, the admin is telling us that the notes will be sent on WhatsApp. Don't worry, they are coming anytime. Okay, I've now gone back. So we are going to look at another point here. And okay, before that point, we've got H.M. Stanley. That is his image. That's how the man looked like. And so this is another point. You've seen H.M. Stanley. You will see more of him when we send the notes. They were inspired by the success of the early travelers and the missionaries. Men like Vasco da Gama, Dr. David Livingstone had been very successful in their exploration to Africa, and this inspired and motivated many European Christian missionaries to come to East Africa. So this reason is actually telling us that they were inspired by those that had visited Africa earlier. People like Vasco da Gama was in Africa, I think in 1400, around there. So Dr. David Livingstone came as an explorer. So the moment they went back, they gave report to the administrators, to the leaders in their own countries, in their different countries. And then so many Europeans became interested in visiting Africa. So this is another point, the desire to check on the spread of Islam. Missionaries came to check on the spread of Islam. This would increase the number of Christian converts in East Africa. I've already told you at the beginning that Muslims had already come to East Africa. They came in earlier than the missionaries. They had started spreading Islam on the coast of East Africa. And missionaries woke up a little bit late. So they decided to come to Africa, most especially East Africa, to stop or to check on the spread of Islam. We have this other point here, that some had come to complete the work of Dr. David Livingstone, who had left a big part, who had left. Now, surely you people, there is this stubborn boy, boy or girl, I don't know. Mr. Charles, if you can locate this person, please.
I have removed him.
Sorry?
You restart sharing your screen. I've removed him.
Oh, you are saying I should now? Okay. So we are
Okay,
saying,
Mr. Busuulwa, again, the learners are
yes,
saying
please.
that you are so fast. Can you move in a slow pace?
Oh, okay. I'm going to slow down a little bit, okay? Okay, okay. Now, the point we are talking about here is that some had come to complete the work of Dr. David Livingstone, who had left a big part of his work uncompleted. Okay, before his death, 1973, he had formed the Universal Mission to Central Africa, UMCA missionary group, and reported to Europe that East Africans were interested in Christianity. Now, before the death of Dr. David Livingstone in 1973, he had left in pipeline an organization known as the Universal Mission to Central Africa. This was, of course, this was aimed at converting so many other people in East Africa. Converting so many other people in East Africa. And we are saying he went back to Europe and he reported to his leaders, to the leaders of the different countries in Europe, that East Africans need to be converted to Christianity. So these different countries decided to send the missionaries in East Africa. France sent, Britain sent, Scotland sent. There is also a group that came from Holland, and individuals from Holland. There was Van der Kemp, okay, but that one majorly operated in South Africa. So the point is, Dr. David Livingstone left some work that had to be completed. That is why missionaries came to East Africa to complete the work that was left uncompleted. This is another point here. They wanted to promote legitimate trade. They aimed at replacing slave trade with legitimate trade and promote the import and the export trade that was growing up between Europe and the East Africans at that time. Okay, this point is an interesting point. We are talking about legitimate trade. The question is, if you talk about legitimate trade, then it means there was some trade that was illegitimate. Okay? And the trade that was illegitimate was the slave trade. So they wanted to stop this illegitimate trade, and then they introduced the legitimate trade. The legitimate trade is the right trade, meaning that slave trade was not right. So they had to stop slave trade and then replace it with the legitimate trade, carry out the import and export business in East Africa. This is another point. I believe that one is clear. Let me see some people. Okay. The point is, the missionaries were paving way for the European imperialists. They carried a Bible in one hand and a flag in the other. They acted as the forerunners of colonial rule. Their teachings, such as love your neighbors, you love yourself, don't mind about the earthly riches, your treasures are in heaven, etc. Now, when you look at all these ones, they were used to soften the minds of the Africans, okay? Such that when colonialists come, Africans do not resist them. Africans do not go against them. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Automatically love the colonialist the way you love yourself. And then these colonialists did their work very well. having found a soft ground laid by the missionaries. So these people came to pave way for the coming of to pave way for the coming of colonialists. Okay, I believe the point is clear. I've been a little bit slow, and I believe people have got the point very well. Okay, I'm assuming you've got the point very well. I've now moved over to another point here. The desire for exploration and adventure. They had heard about the darker continent, and they came to East Africa to see how it looked like. For example, Kraft and Redman had at first come for adventure and sightseeing in East Africa. Now, this also answers the question that was posed by someone, okay? That was H.M. Stanley, an explorer or a missionary? I think now here you can see it very well. Some missionaries at first came as explorers, then went back and came back as missionaries. So we are saying some of them had come to discover, to know about this darker continent. Actually, they were calling it a darker continent, but I don't know whether it was. So they wanted to know what was in East Africa, and that is how eventually they came in as missionaries. So we have moved to this other point. Okay, in the chat here, someone has said what is meant by the darker continent. Darker continent. Now, in the world, there is no continent that is called a darker continent. But the Europeans believed at that time that maybe Africa was a darker continent, a continent where there was nothing, which was totally dark, which never had people, which never had, so they referred to it as a darker continent. But I've already told you, I don't think it was. They only had a belief that it was a dark continent. So we have this other point here. They wanted to improve the living conditions of East Africans. As for example, they built many hospitals to improve the conditions of sick people from malaria, smallpox, sleeping sickness, among others. So the point is, they came to improve the living conditions of people living in East Africa. People in East Africa were dying of treatable diseases. So the missionaries thought that it would be a good venture for them to come and treat these Africans who were dying from the treatable diseases. So when they came to East Africa, they set up hospitals, and then they provided the health services to the people in East Africa, to the people in East Africa. So I think you've got the point that they came to improve on the living conditions of Africans. Yes, then there is this other point here. They came as a result of support from the Industrial Revolution. Many European industrialists had got a lot of money from the Industrial Revolution, and they decided to support the evangelical programs of their missionary groups in Eastern Africa. Now, Industrial Revolution, one would like to know about that. What is all about the Industrial Revolution? What was it? Now, in Europe, they had got industries. When you go to Britain, for example, Britain got industries way back in 1775. And after coming up with industries, establishing industries in their country, they produced a lot. They produced and they were selling to different countries. There is even a belief that at one time Britain was referred to as the workshop of the world. Why the workshop of the world? Because in Britain produced and sold to almost all the countries in the world. Now, these people got a lot of money. After getting a lot of money, they decided to come to East Africa and then fund the different programs. They decided to come to East Africa, support the different evangelical programs in the different countries, simply because there was money. So the point is all about money that came with the Industrial Revolution. So I believe the point is also clear. Now, from there, of course, those are the points we had as to why these people came to East Africa. And you know the system that you people have got to make research. If I give you what I given you, then you also have to search and add on what I've given you. I've already told you that unfortunately, we've got very limited time and we are not in a position to do that the way we teach in class, okay? But of course, go to the internet, add on what I've given you. Again, there is this activity, okay? Of course, you will sit down and look for reasons for the coming of foreign religions in East Africa. Go to the internet, this work can be found there. Use the different books, you can find this work there. And at the end of the day, you'll have got more of the points than what I've given you. Then, here we've got a question. What type of religions that what type of religions that were, let me change. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, these are the questions we will change this before we say. The question is, what type of religions that were in East Africa before the coming of foreign religions? That is your homework. Okay, I'm saying that you'll have to look at the different religions, tell us the different religions. This is your own work you are supposed to be doing. Then there is also explain, okay, this one will also be worked on. Explain the reasons why Muslim missionaries came to East Africa. A wise student, of course, can answer this question. Even when I have not talked about Muslims, you can answer this question here. Explain the reasons why Muslim missionaries came to East Africa. So, from what I've given you, you can still find the answers as to why the Muslim missionaries also came to East Africa. Remember, I told you at the beginning that East Africa at first was occupied by the Muslims. And these Muslims were spreading Islam in East Africa, most especially at the coast of East Africa. Okay, so you also look at reasons why Muslim missionaries came to East Africa. Then from there, we also have which problems did Islamic missionaries face in East Africa. You try to search about this problems faced by Islamic missionaries in East Africa. You understand? And of course, this can also be found. You can, as we said earlier, you can use your guardians, you ask them, you can go to the different books of history, you can go to the internet. This information can be found there. Okay. Now, you can now see lesson 1. You can see lesson 1 is now done, meaning that the next time we will be meeting, we will be looking at different things, of course. But of course, before we go, because we still have some time here, before we go here, now I'm entertaining some questions from you. Let me check. People here have not been asked. Okay. Please, you ask. Okay, someone is just thanking. Okay, I'm now waiting for some questions. People, you can pose some questions before we go. We still have some little time. Ask some questions from what we've studied. If there is a point that you didn't understand very well, you can tell me, and then I try to repeat the explanation for you. If you have a question, you unmute and then ask. If you cannot unmute and ask, you can pose your question.
Which missionaries came to East Africa?
Teacher,
Sorry,
please.
I've not heard the question. Someone was asking. Okay, let me, Mr. Sorry, Mr. Charles, you were saying something? Learners, wait a bit. Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles?
Yes, please.
You had something to say?
No.
Guys, what was the last question?
Okay. Now,
Master, did the missionaries come only from Europe?
oh, okay. Now let me first answer this question. Someone is asking a question. Some other people, mute your microphones. Okay, mute your microphones. Someone has asked a question. Did the missionaries only come from Europe? I would say the missionaries we are talking about right now, most of them came from Europe. In fact, I will say they came from Europe. They came from France. They came from Britain. They came from Holland. They came from Scotland. They came from different countries. So we are saying the missionaries came from Europe. From the chat, someone is saying, excuse me, teacher, were Muslims missionaries or traders? Were Muslims missionaries or traders? Now, this is an interesting question.
Teacher.
For sure, most of the Muslims that came to East Africa were traders. But again, I will tell you that some Muslims came in to spread Islam, and they were doing it at the coast of East Africa. Meaning that they also had that mission of spreading Islam. Because they had that mission of spreading Islam, then they also become missionaries. Now, let me teach you about this. That word you see, missionaries, comes from the word mission. So when someone has a mission of doing something, and then he executes that mission, that person is a missionary. So these people had a mission of spreading Islam at the coast, and indeed, they did that work, so they were Muslim missionaries who spread Islam at the coast. So I think I've answered that question. Someone is also asking here that what is the meaning of the word shock absorbers? Well, I don't know whether you've seen this in our work, but of course I will tell you, shock absorbers, someone who feels the shock on behalf of someone. You feel the shock on behalf of someone, like how can I bring it out very well? If I'm to give an example, let me give an example of the Africans, for example, the Baganda here in Uganda, who were sent by the colonialists to different areas in Uganda to collect taxes, and the Baganda who were collecting taxes were seen as enemies, were seen as people who were mistreating those they were supposed to get the tax from. So the Baganda who were collecting taxes now became the shock absorbers of the Europeans. You feel the shock on behalf of someone. You understand? Like someone is up there, comfortably seated, and then someone is down here feeling. So that is what Okay, these others I think have not been asking questions. Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
Teacher, I have a question. Were there
Yes, you can
women
ask.
missionaries?
Oh, women missionaries.
Women missionaries.
Okay, you've got to the question very well. Were there women missionaries? Women missionaries. These ones I think it came in at a later date, but at the early stages we only had men who came to Africa and spread the gospel. But if some women came, they came in a little bit later. When men had already prepared the ground, when men had laid a camp on the ground, those ones, if they were there, they came in later. But most of the missionaries we talk about here were men. That's why the examples we have given have been examples of men only.
Master.
Yes.
Master.
Yes, please.
Teacher, I have another
Yes, I
question.
can hear you.
The work.
Sorry?
Master.
Repeat the question.
Conduct the work.
Yes, please. We are going to send the work. You want the work to be sent? Yes, we are going to send the work.
Yes.
In that WhatsApp group. Yes.
Teacher, I have a question. Teacher, give us links to
Someone's
send
network
the
is not
work.
clear. Someone is asking, but it's very breaking.
Master.
Sorry.
Excuse me, sir.
About the work, don't worry.
Excuse me, sir.
About the work, don't worry. Yes,
Okay,
please.
Master.
Teacher, I have a question also.
Yes, you can ask it.
I'm actually taking you back. There's a point you said that that the missionaries were some missionaries were invited by Kabak. So I'm asking that if the Kabaka was aware of the missionaries who are going to come, or did he did he know that they were going to come, so that, and did he know what they were going to do to his territory?
Oh, okay. I understand your question. We are saying here that some missionaries were invited by some traditional leaders, such as the Kabaka of Uganda. But did the Kabaka know the consequences of inviting missionaries in Uganda here? The Kabaka, of course, didn't know the other the hidden motives of, and of course I will not even tell you that they had hidden motives. They came here to spread Christianity, and the only problem was that the king thought that maybe the converts will no longer be looking at him as their king. You understand? But the Kabaka invited them simply because he had been excited by the work of the explorers. The work of the explorers was too good. They had it brought in different things to the Kabaka. The traders had even given him lands and all that. So the Kabaka took them to be good people. Okay, took them to be good people. That is why he invited them. And they didn't do anything, but they were spreading Christianity. But it was misinterpreted by some.
Excuse me, sir.
Advisors will think. Yes.
Are there countries that rejected missionaries?
Sorry? Repeat the question.
Are there countries that rejected missionaries?
Countries that did not
rejected missionaries.
Or are there countries that rejected missionaries?
Yes.
Countries that rejected missionaries.
Teacher, I have a question.
Teacher,
Some,
I have a question.
I have a question.
Excuse me, teacher.
okay. Yes.
Teacher,
Bananga, you people, it's
I have
better
a
you raise
question.
up your hands than shouting for us.
Teacher.
Can't you raise up your hands?
Excuse me,
Someone.
master.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
Teacher.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Master,
Stop shouting.